Welcome back as I read through the story of Esther. Today we are on chapter 7, and where we left off was Haman had just had to parade Mordecai through the streets on a horse, saying this is what happens to those the king wants to honor, after he had just finished building these gallows to kill Mordecai on. Kind of crazy. At the end of the story, Haman is rushed away after he told his wife what had happened. And now he's at the second banquet with Esther and the king. Let's go from here. So the king and Haman went to dine with Queen Esther. And as they were drinking wine on that second day, the king asked again, "Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given to you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted." Where's that favor? Then Queen Esther answered, "If I have found favor with you, O king, and if it pleases your majesty, grant me my life. This is my petition. And spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold for destruction and slaughter and annihilation. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, but no such distress would justify disturbing the king." King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, "Who is he? Where is the man who has dared to do such a thing?" Esther said, the adversary, and enemy is this vile Haman," pointing to him. Then Haman was terrified before the king and queen. The king got up in a rage, left his wine, and went out into the palace garden. But Haman, realizing that the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. The king exclaimed, "Will he even molest the queen while she is with me in the house?" So Haman's really not doing too good begging for a little mercy there. As soon as the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Then Harbona, one of the eunuchs attending the king, said, "A gallows 75 feet high stands by Haman's house. He had it made for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king." Wow. That's intense. The king said, "Hang him on it." So they hanged Haman on the gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's fury subsided. Wow. That's a lot to deal with in one night. Can you imagine that second banquet? That was intense. I would imagine it would be very difficult after that day to just kind of gather your thoughts on everything that took place as the king. And probably made him think, who am I asking to give me advice? At least that's something I would consider if something like that was exposed. All right. So that was chapter 7. Nice and short. And I think something to ponder here. Who are we listening to? And why are we listening to them? Also, does their advice line up with the Word of God? All right, I'll see you next time when we read chapter 8.